I'll try not to show them too much. All right, welcome to the University of Winnipeg. It's funny to be here, but it's good to be here. My name is Chris Miniker, and I'm the Senior Executive Officer of External Engagement. I'd like to welcome the community partners who are here with us today and those who are watching live on Facebook. In the spirit and practice of equality and justice, I would like to acknowledge that we are here this morning on Treaty 1, land in the heart of the Métis Nation. We at UWinnipeg continue to follow the calls to action that were identified through the Call to Conversation Conference in 2017. The calls to action highlight ongoing discrimination based on gender identity, racialization, and or sexuality in the lives of two-spirit, queer, and trans people of color. In the spirit of pride and the diverse, inclusive UWinnipeg campus, we continue to strive and build and strengthen ties between our communities. So I'll just share a personal story. I was talking with my kid, Ben, last night, and he was getting ready to go back to school. Today was the first day back at school. And, I was asking him, how are you feeling about it? Like, I'm feeling really good. Except that I've discovered over the summer that on the inside, I'm a rainbow unicorn. And he's 7, and so I don't think he really has a full understanding of, the beautiful spectrum of people's experience and who people are. But he right now is identifying as a rainbow unicorn. And so, he said to me, I'm really excited about going back to school, but I'm also scared that if I let people know who I am, that they're going to laugh at me. So I think I said, something that any parent would say to their kid, which is that you need to be exactly who it is that you are. And the rest of the world can adjust to that. I'm reminded, though, being here today, that this isn't, that's that idea that the rest of the world will adjust to who Ben is. That's a relatively new idea. And there are a lot of people who have been fighting. We are here with people today who have been fighting a very long time to make that kind of world a reality. I don't think it's here yet, and I think there's a lot more work to do. But just here at the University of Winnipeg, I think that we occupy like a privileged space. And I think that the rest of the world is looking to us to think about the kind of community that we want to create, and maybe we can share a little bit of that light with the rest of the world. So what we do here matters very, very deeply. I've got in my notes that I was supposed to let a physical plant know to raise the flags, but I'm just wondering if we can actually do that together. Just wondering, like on the count of 3, maybe we can say, raise those flags. So we'll just do this. We'll just go 1, 2, 3, raise the flags. 1, 2, 3, raise those flags.
Thank you, Chris. It's a It's a windy day. That's good from the COVID point of view. It's also good from the flag flapping point of view. It's not great from the tie point of view, but there you go. So good morning. Thank you for joining us today for our annual Pride and Two-Spirit flag raising ceremony. The Pride flag is an important symbol of the pride shared by members of the 2SL LGBTQ+, that is Two-Spirit, Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, Queer community. Today we raise the new Progress Pride flag for the first time. This flag raising emphasizes a continuing commitment to being an inclusive community for all identities. I'm proud of the University of Winnipeg's long-standing commitment to fostering and promoting diversity and inclusion on and off campus. I've been asked to call attention to our Sidewalk Murals, which are by Cool Street, Winnipeg. I'm sure you've all been enjoying them. This Pride Week, UW will host a Library of Love panel discussion and a virtual drag bingo taking place on Friday. I hope you're able to take in these events. We must continue to work together to create a society that celebrates people's gifts and contributions and treats people fairly, equally, and justly, regardless of gender identity. There are many people who work year-round to keep the spirit of pride alive in our community and beyond. We are honored to have Dr. Albert Macleod joining us today. A well-respected knowledge keeper, Albert has worked tirelessly for the rights of Two-Spirit, Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Trans, and Queer, 2SL, LGBTQ+ people. Thanks to Albert's generous donation, UWinnipeg is home to the Two-Spirits Archive, the most comprehensive archival collection of Two-Spirit material in Canada. I would also like to thank Reagan Hart for honoring us today with a drum song. Thank you for sharing your talent with us, Reagan. I would also like to thank Shawna Peloquin, former UWSA president, for speaking at today's event. In 2018, the Alumni Association created a new student award to support talented undergraduate students who identify as 2SL LGBTQ+. T-shirts are available if you want to support the scholarship. We work hard to cultivate a learning environment that encourages diverse ways of thinking. I believe this is one of the keys to our success, socially and economically. If you're looking for resources, you can find a Pride reading list on our website, as well as a list of resources to help you keep connected and supported. Our students, faculty, and staff come from all walks of life, and the scholarship they participate in shapes our educational institutions, government, private sector, and museums. It shapes how we remember history, how we tell stories, how we create art, and how we perform scientific discovery. As we raise the Progress Pride and Two-Spirit flags today, I encourage you to reflect on the future and to celebrate progress that has already been made. I would like to thank the Pride Committee Chair, Sharon Paul Ruprai, and committee members, Tayane Diop, Trevor Thomas, Susan Iwanika, Chris Miniker, Christine Payne, Stacey Belding, Kurt Heyer, Tatiana Carnavale, Emma Kruger, Vias, and Helen Chalakis for their work bringing this week's celebrations to life. Thank you to everyone who's joining us today. Whether you're participating because you want to show pride in your gender or sexual identity, or want to walk as an ally, or both, your contribution is helping to bring people together, building a safe and welcoming campus, a place where everyone belongs, is ongoing work, and it's work we're committed to. On behalf of all of us at the University of Winnipeg, happy Pride.
I'd like to ask my friend Shawna Peloquin to come up and share some words with us.
Hi everyone. I wasn't expecting to go right after James Currie, but grateful to be here. I'm not sure if you're like me, you can't really see the flags right now because the sun is just behind. But the students, when they come here, they'll see them entering, and they'll also see the sidewalk here. And it's really important to foster space for students to grow and to build pride on who they are. Also want to acknowledge that perhaps the Canadian flag should be down, but I'm really proud of seeing the pride flag up. There's still a lot of work to do at the university to create more space for students of all backgrounds, of all diversity. And something I always like to bring forward is barriers. So looking at barriers, what are the barriers that students from the LGBTQ communities are facing in the university? And it's questions that are really hard to answer if you're from a cis-hetero position. And for us, it's always important to question, ask yourself what you can do to support them, to nurture that space, to make them feel safe in that space. Because we experience barriers that are not necessarily experienced by others. And for us, it's really important to have a space where we can communicate those barriers, but also where we can also express who we are without having to deal with judgment. And this is something that should be for all of us. So yeah, I don't think I have any more to say. I'm very grateful to see you all here. Unfortunately, we can't be more than that, but let's make space for people that need it. Make space for the two-spirited and LGBTQ community, for students, and that also by not necessarily being too overly expressive about gender and pronouns, but letting them express themselves and asking questions, asking them instead of like assuming. Yeah, I'm grateful to be here. It's interesting for me because last time I saw a flag being raised, it was a Mohawk flag at the Ledge building when the statue fell. So yeah, it feels interesting. But thank you for having me, and I'll pass it to Chris.
Thank you, Shawna. I'd like to introduce Dr. Alvin Cloud. Not that he really needs an introduction from me to you, but anyway, I'll do it. Albert is a UWinnipeg Honorary Doctorate of Laws recipient and the co-director of the Two-Spirited People of Manitoba. Albert is a well-respected knowledge keeper, and he has worked tirelessly for the rights of Two-Spirit, 2S, lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, and queer people in the local community and across Turtle Island. So, without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Alvin Cloud to share some words with us.
Thanks, Chris. So welcome everybody to this recognition of Pride Week in Manitoba. Because of the pandemic, it has been changed from May, June of this year, and hopefully next year we'll get back on track and be able to have our Pride Week and our Pride March, which really marks the history of human rights movement for 2S LGBTQIA people in Canada and Manitoba and in Winnipeg. As the board member of the Two-Spirited People of Manitoba, we began our work in 1986. And that was really a time there was little services for LGBTQ people in Winnipeg, and especially in institutions such as universities or health institutions or legal institutions. And actually, it was just at the time that sexual orientation was added to as an amendment to the Human Rights Code, in that people could not discriminate against LGBTQ people. So we began that year with the march. And there was 200 people who marched from Vimy Ridge to the Memorial Boulevard, and many of those people were afraid. They were afraid of losing their jobs. They were afraid of being rejected by their families because they were outing themselves. And they were also afraid of violence. So many years on today, I'm proud to be here to honor the students that are bravely coming back to school during this pandemic. And we have to, at some point, come out of this pandemic. And so we really honor the courage of the educators, the teachers, and the leaders, and especially the students, in coming out and beginning our lives again with the vaccination. Now, on September 30th is the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation for Canada. And that's what this is about. It is about the truth of Canada's history and how Indigenous people were pushed aside, their knowledge was invalidated, knowledge that had been gleaned over tens of thousands of years. And that knowledge was not valued in institutions such as universities, health institutions, or legal institutions. So that's why today is very important, because it is our rights as Canadians, our human rights, our constitutional rights that represent who we are as a nation. And that we recognize the contribution of Indigenous people to that history of Manitoba, of Winnipeg, and of Canada, and to these institutions as well. And so today it's a great day to have the flag raised on behalf of Two-Spirit people, and recognizing that we want to create these safe spaces for Two-Spirit people. Many of the Indigenous people who went through the Indian residential school system or the day school system did not go on to university, did not go on to have a career, and really have lived lives of oppression because of that experience in our history. And we should all recognize that, right? That, to gain access to this information through these institutions is a right that all Canadians should have, especially Indigenous people and especially Two-Spirit people. So I'm really glad to be here today to thank President Currie and the Pride Advisory Committee who puts this together every year. And hopefully next year we will be able to meet again, more people, and to be a part of the actual Pride March. I marched in 1987, and I've come to understand what that means to march down a street in the center of Winnipeg, identifying as a queer or Two-Spirit person. It means I'm taking my rightful space in society by putting myself on that street and claiming that space as an Indigenous person in Treaty 1 territory, in the homeland of the Métis Nation. And that always has been the narrative of this country, Canada, as we understand it. And so the education that happens in this institution really needs to include that narrative from the very beginning of contact in this part of the world. And what Indigenous people and Two-Spirit people have to contribute to that wealth of experience and knowledge and surviving. We are now surviving climate change and global warming. We need all the best knowledge to accomplish that feat. It's not just a pandemic, it is the fact that our climate is changing and we need solutions now to address that. And it's when we create safe spaces that the best minds, the best knowledge can come together and provide that solution to us as we move forward. I want to introduce Raven Hart, who's a relative of mine. And Raven also was alumni of this university. And Raven is going to sing a traditional song. And in the Aboriginal culture, we believe that when we invoke or petition the natural or the spiritual world, we will be heard. And that's what truth and reconciliation is about, is the truth of our realities, the truth of our dependence of humans on the natural world, and the faith that the spiritual world, the natural world, can respond and give us direction, give us support. And that's what this invitation is about through this song, is that as Indigenous people, we believe that we can connect to that world and we will receive what we are asking for. So I'd like to introduce Raven to do that song, that invitation into that world to give us strength to move forward together. Butch.
The song that I sang this morning was the Eagle song, and what it asks is, it asks for that grandfather eagle to come over and bless us and bless each and every one of us today. So I just wanted to share that song. And also, I always like to educate. I was actually the Indigenous Director of the Albert Macleod Council while I was here for 2 years. One of the things that I learned is it's really important to start events like this with a prayer and a song. Not after, but to start that way. Especially to recognize Indigenous people on Treaty 1 territory. That should have been the first thing that we should have started with. So I'm really grateful to be here today to share a song with you, and I just always want to be educating about the importance of our culture and the fact that that prayer and that song should have been the first thing that we started with today. Miigwech, like I say, hi hi.
Well, thank you for that, Raven, and I take that to heart, and I thank you for sharing that with us, and I will remember. Here, thanks everybody who signed in on Facebook Live, and thanks especially everybody who was here today. Dr. McLeod, you spoke about the bravery that it takes to show up, and so we have all shown up here today, and I think that we can be proud of that. I just want to let you know that on Friday, September 10th, I will be hosting a pride panel in the afternoon at Dragway Road in partnership with Sunshine House in the evening. For more information information on these events, please take a look at our website. I just want to give a very special shout out to Dr. Chantal Ruprai, who is not able to be here with us today, but she is here with us at the Arts. And thank you for being our fearless leader this year. Thanks to everybody who helped to put on this event, and happy Pride.